For an economy thoroughly drunk on oil for decades, its reinvention will not come about from merely quitting the addiction, but reinventing the petroleum industry itself to support the emerging and hopefully blossoming non-oil economy. And so that's what I really think, and that's what we should bear in mind. And I have the task to keep you awake just before lunch, and I hope I succeed, particularly after that nice one from Daniel. Here, I try to give why it's so important for us to actually look at the petroleum industry, despite the fact that after rebasing, it went down to 15% from around a third of the GDP. And we do know now that at $60 a barrel, for example, the price today is actually $47 a barrel, Nigeria loses $36 billion a year. So we just can't ignore petroleum, and that's why we have to talk about it. Now we're going to look at what I call the backdrop. I will be very brief on the backdrop, which just try to give, I know some of us here are not in the industry, most of us are bankers, but I think it's important to get a flavor of what is happening so that we can now look in great details into other aspects, like what is trending, for example, in terms of price around the world, and how do we reinvent this industry, how do we finance the industry, and what do we expect the role of demography, for example, in the years ahead. What really is happening in the oil industry currently? I think that is a big question we should all be asking ourselves. By way of summary, we find that there's quite a lot happening. The biggest thing, I think, was what happened in August. Now we have new management at NNPC, and they're promising accountability and transparency, and the fingers are crossed. But in terms of what has happened in the last few years, between 2010 and 2015, because of the PIB delay and so on, there hasn't been too much investment in Nigeria, but one big thing that has happened has been the divestment from blocks originally operated by the IOCs. And I'm pleased to tell you that in those 5 years to 2015, we've had about $9.9 billion of investment actually going into this divestment, and that is significant. And in 2015, which is this year, we've had 2 deep water expansion projects commissioned, and that brings in some 110,000 barrels a day. And one independent, I think those of you who have been reading the press will know, want to go in the steps of SEPLAT by having a dual listing both in Nigeria and elsewhere. So quite a lot is happening, but a lot more could have happened, as we will soon find out. I put here the divestment chart, and if you look carefully there, you find that you have 5 of them have asterisks against them. Item 2 there, item 3, item 5, item 6. These are blocks, if the news we've heard is right, they intend to use the IJV model for financing. And that is significant. So we're going to spend some part of this program to actually talk about what's this IJV model all about. Is it the right way to go as we try to reinvent the industry and finance the industry better? What about our PSCs? PSCs means production sharing contracts. That's the form of contracts being used when you hear of Bonga and all these other big fields, they're in deep water. Because at the time, Nigeria did not know. The IOCs came and said, oh, we found some oil in 3,000 feet of water. I said, well, 3,000 feet of water. Oh, you go, if you find it, do it. Okay, we'll just be on the back of it. And so that's why they are all PSCs. So they take the risk. If they don't find oil, they go. But if they do find oil, then they will operate it. But you only probably get some tax oil. Royalty is actually zero, so Nigeria doesn't get that, which is one of those things PIB wanted to correct. And as I can say, people are carrying placards that Nigeria don't do that. You know, so we do have PSCs, and there are lots of issues from a Nigerian Inc. perspectives. So existing PSCs rightly need reforms despite understandable IOC reforms. And Kachuku, who comes from ExxonMobil, incidentally, is already saying things like that, and I'm sure the IOCs are not happy with him, even though a few months ago he was on the other side of the divide. Here, just for your information, this is what the new look NMPC looks at the highest levels. You have the 4 directorates, and then, of course, you have the GMD on top of it. And like I was saying, things like the refinery and technology is a cost center, while commercial and investment is a revenue center. I strongly believe that there's a way you can reinvent that to ensure that they're both profit centers and not what they are currently. What are the challenges with the existing joint venture? I have said here, I had a few words I had jotted down for discussion on that more specifically. I said existing unincorporated joint ventures are like a loose marriage of convenience that no longer works well. They are bereft with challenges and destroy significant value. So that for me is the real major drawback with the joint venture.